Let's all scream. Let's all scream. Scream, scream, let's all scream.
Hi everyone and welcome to Let's All Scream. I'm Hassan Al Marashi
I'm Shehlaa Ali.
And I'm Saleh Al Braik.
and welcome to our latest episode. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. I feel like it's been a long week. At least to me, that's how it feels. I feel like the first days were Eid, and although we didn't do much, I feel like maybe that's why actually
Yeah.
it felt longer than usual.
Yeah.
Usually it's more filled with like activities and
Gatherings.
yeah. But yeah, and then I feel like the last couple of days of Eid, of the week, just took their time.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
How about you?
For me, I think we were discussing because we recorded last week's episode right before it started.
Yeah.
And so coming off from Eid, I agree. I feel like it's been a really long week. And I think it's because we had a long break as well. So a lot of the offices were closed and stuff. So
Not long enough if you ask me.
But also it's weird because I think it's our first long holiday ever since the whole lockdown staying at home thing
that's true.
happened.
Yeah.
So I think for us, we're used to passing the time with things to do. And so
Yeah.
this time it was a bit weird. In our house, it was fine to a degree. We still had, the first day was great, at least in my part. I felt like we still experienced Eid by dressing up.
Yeah.
We had the bahur, and so the house smelt like
Incense and-
we had the house smelt like Eid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had our infamous Eid lunch, which was
Lunch.
great.
For those who haven't heard, Saleh's traditional Eid lunch is Chinese food and Iranian food.
on the first day, and that was great. But the only downside, of course, was not having as many family members to have that first day Eid with
Yeah.
Eid lunch with us and even
Yeah.
see them. We did a lot of calls. Speaking of, we did our family Zoom
Group,
call,
yeah.
and it started off with 3 laptops or 3 screens on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
And then because of how loud it was, and aunts and uncles trying to speak over each other, and kids, and obviously kids, you guys know, having a baby yourselves, how
Yeah.
they can't stay still.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So having that whole thing, and obviously dressing them in their Eid outfits, which they want to get out of as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a circus. It started off with 3 screens and then ended up being like 12 screens because everyone started going into different rooms,
different rooms.
and switching it on their
On their
phones
phone.
because they couldn't hear
Yeah.
the
Each
other.
other, yeah.
But it was still great. But then the following days, yes, I felt that they were such huge gaps.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. Same here. Is the first 2 days of Eid were nice. The first day for us of Eid, we actually, I think we were just not prepared.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the things ready, the sweets. Hassan hadn't properly like shaved and done everything. So I'm like, you know what? Although it is Eid, we can actually celebrate it
Yeah.
the day after. So
Yeah.
the second day for us is when we actually got dressed up. The baby we dressed up the baby. I mean, not she got dressed up. We dressed her up, and then we took like family photos.
That's
and
nice.
yeah, that was the proper.
Did you end up taking your Eid
Yes.
portraits that you wanted to do?
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I might be here biased or whatever, but this is my favorite year.
Yeah.
And I think just because you can see like from last year we didn't take a picture because we weren't together. I think he came the few days after the first days of Eid.
Yeah.
He
to
came
Canada.
to Canada. you
Yeah,
mean?
sorry. Because remember I wasn't here.
Yeah.
And he was here. So yeah, we didn't take a picture yet last year with the bump and everything.
Yeah.
But this year, all of a sudden, you have a baby. So it was nice.
That's great. How about you, Hassan?
Yeah, I like I said, I kind of enjoyed it. I found this Eid much more relaxing, even though I usually am not that involved in the prep for like gatherings and stuff. But it just felt more relaxing not to have to prepare, for guests coming over and stuff. So yes, it was bittersweet because you miss the gatherings,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there was kind of just this because I feel like we're all just so exhausted,
Yeah.
especially after Ramadan. So it was kind of nice to just chill out and just hang out with the family.
Yeah.
But obviously this Eid was different, and it was a change for many of us. And this year actually has brought on a lot of change for a lot of people and for the entire world. So that kind of brings us to today's topic, and we wanted to talk about change in its different forms. So I wanted to bring it to you guys. How has change manifested in your life, or what are some stories you can share around change?
I think if anything this year has taught us, you know the old saying when people used to say that, stop fixating on the future and appreciate the now,
Yeah.
live in the present, live in the moment. I think this year is like a huge sign
Testament to
and
that,
testament
yeah.
to that, like
Yeah.
basically telling us that you really don't know what's coming
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think that has been probably the hardest for me because I keep on saying that again, for me, when I wake
Yeah.
up in the morning, the first thing I do literally is I open up my notebook and I write a list of things I'm going to do that day. So you can imagine, and I'm a collector of daily planners. Like if
Right.
I buy, although I have like one daily planner, I'll buy like 5. I don't know why I
Yeah.
would need 5 daily planners.
I'm
but-
guilty of that too.
Exactly. But coming from an addictive planner like myself,
Yeah.
it's been a very difficult
Adjustment.
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
year, and also coming as a business owner, that itself, I mean, you look at any business that you have or any business that you're working for. One
Yeah.
of the major things you do is forecasting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that has been thrown out the window like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Into an area that, by the way, it's not like, okay, you always, I would say, whenever you are planning or you're
Yeah.
forecasting, even when it comes to your own savings, let's say,
Yeah.
and your own savings plan as income, you always say, oh, okay, I can see perhaps this bump here or there, or you have
Yeah.
like something that's called like a, what do you call it, like
A little hiccup or
like a safety
A
net,
safety
right?
net, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you have like just in case something
yeah.
goes wrong. This is
this is
this is
more-
not going wrong. This everything just like it is literally like we're living in a whole new world. So your
Yeah.
adjusting of how you
Yeah.
plan has to
Yeah.
be adjusted to this new world.
Yeah.
And so I think for me that has been the biggest thing that I up until today
That has impacted
Yeah.
you.
has impacted. I can't, like, I'm planning now. Before I used to plan, and you guys remember, before I
Yeah.
used to plan weeks ahead.
Yeah.
I would have a calendar of when I see my friends, like my
Yeah.
close friends. I'd be like, oh, I'll see you. I don't have anything this week. I'll have it next week because I planned so much.
Yeah.
Now I'll be lucky if I plan for the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's the
You
thing.
know?
Like with me, it's actually very hard for me to talk about because I'm still struggling with this, and I'm sure a lot of listeners are also dealing with the same thing. It's very like I am just like you, a planner. I plan my trips. I plan my weeks ahead.
Yeah.
I plan my meetings with my friends. There's so many things, and like to the point where I plan. Okay, my day, like you said, I write down. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go out at this time. I plan 2 hours ahead if I'm gonna go out
Yeah.
with the baby, and like again, very much, very structured day.
Yeah.
Going into what is our life now, I don't know, like there is no structure. Like you said, I don't see tomorrow even.
Yeah.
I barely see today and what my challenges are for today.
Yeah.
What I plan usually, what the next meal is going to be.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I can't see further down the line. And I don't know how I'm dealing with it. I'm struggling with it a lot. But I mean, I can come back to this whole subject again
Yeah.
in a couple of weeks maybe,
Yeah.
and just discuss how I've dealt with it because I'm still dealing with the change.
I mean, for me, I'm not really a planner at all. I kind of take things as they come. I mean, I plan a little bit, obviously. I think everyone has to.
I
But
think
you're
your
more-
your benefit, what Hassan does, which I like, is I mean, from my end, you might disagree, but I feel like you compartmentalize.
Yes.
As in, when Hassan's at work, he's at work.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then when he's at home, he's at home. Like, he doesn't, I mean, now maybe less because, you know, the lines are very,
separation is a bit,
is a bit blurry.
Yeah.
But that's what mashallah, I envy from you, is that you compartmentalize.
But see, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. When I used to be at the office, if I get any like call from home about something going on, or a message from someone in the house like saying, oh, you know, this is broken, or we need to fix this, or we need to, like, I can't deal with
it.
that.
Yeah.
I need to, like, if I'm at work, I need to focus on work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So actually, this has been the change for me, is like, because we're at home and there isn't that separation.
Yeah.
It's been very difficult to deal with, and I find myself being very short-tempered, very like impatient, and like Shehlaa has experienced this firsthand.
We were just talking about this, by the way, yesterday.
Yeah.
Maybe do you think it's because actually it's perfectly with what we said, because you like to compartmentalize the fact that your worlds have
now
united.
I'm just in one big box,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people are also dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, at the same time, you have to think, like, again, there's people who have it so much worse.
Yeah.
And we have to be very grateful for everything that we do have and everything. And honestly, like, of course, there's so much tragedy and so much like negative things that have come with this pandemic and with this change. But at the same time, there is a lot of good. Like, some businesses are actually thriving in this time. If you think about it, like when it comes to online businesses and stuff like that. And some people, like, are also thriving, like, for in the sense that it helped them pause and like take a break and take a breather. And
I know a lot of, you know, although I have a lot of parents complaining about the homeschooling, but I have a lot of moms that tell me that they're appreciating that they've never spent this much time with their kids. Which is, you know, obviously you have your pluses and negatives, but there are pluses. But stepping back from how this year has changed our future plans, I remember from when I was much younger, I was a teenager. I'm the eldest of 4 boys. And so growing up with a father figure that was an entrepreneur, always traveling, always, you know, working hard, creating his own businesses and own deals, I was inspired a bit too much. I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself on my future. And this was a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old where I was like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I remembered when I say what am I going to do is like, okay, I had in mind that, entrepreneurship is the way of the future. And for me, and I just wanted to have things of my own, and you know, and I wanted to have an impact on something that was so passionate, because I saw that my dad was so passionate about what he was doing. And okay, I go to university, I graduate, university, 4 years pass by and nothing. And I'm just like, okay, I'm 18, okay, I'm 20, okay, I graduated and I'm 21 now. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with my future. I graduate, I come back home, and I'm telling my dad, of course, putting this in perspective, I graduated in 2009 when the financial crisis was at its peak. So I'm saying this because of what my dad then said. I came back and I was expecting my future was obviously following his footsteps. So I assumed that I was going to work with him and, you know, learn the trade and then eventually take over being the eldest and whatnot. And so as soon as I got back, he was just like, no. My dad was telling me that, you know, he himself started from nothing. You know, he started his company from scratch. His first job was actually as an employee of a corporation. And so he was like, I'm not gonna give you the easy way out. You're gonna have to, you know, work for it, and you're gonna have to. I was like, okay, so can you call up a few of your friends to get me a job? And he's like, no, work on your CV and get out there. And I was like, you do know it's the financial, like, it's the worst year ever to find a job. And he goes, yeah, well, then better get writing. And so that obviously affected me. Eventually I did get a job, but that ambition to want to start something didn't come until I was around 23. And if you think about it, so that's for me from the age of 16, wanting to have something of my own, to the age of 23. That was a long wait, and I didn't see it coming. It just sparked. And then from then on, it was one company after the other. So
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, like I was
Yeah.
building a portfolio and I was finding opportunities to expand my portfolio. So that's something that I was like, oh, I'm getting where my future is going.
Yeah.
Then I was just like, okay, it's time to branch out on my own. Finally, I've been in the corporate world for so many years, balancing between corporate world and my own private companies. And I'm just like, this is the time where I have to fly. And so I did.
Yeah.
And little did I know that a second crisis was coming, which a lot of people don't want to claim it was, but it is, which is the real estate crisis that happened 2 years ago, almost.
Right.
I mean, we feel it here in Dubai and I guess across the world. We knew that there was a crisis coming, a bigger
Yeah.
crisis, which I guess happened by force this year. But when that had happened, I had already left my corporate world to focus on my own businesses. And I realized that while I was focusing on my own businesses, that wasn't really what I wanted fully. It was
Yeah.
funny. I dreamt of this moment for over 10 years almost,
Yeah.
of the day that I'm just going to be an entrepreneur, solo,
Yeah.
everything. And I realized that this is not who I am. And I kind of miss corporate world as well. And I
Yeah.
was good at balancing. Yes, it was tough, but I was thankful enough to have partners
Right.
and family members to help out. And so a year and a half to 2 years later, actually a year and a half exactly, I went back to corporate world and I'm back to balancing both. So the reason why I'm walking us through this entire, I would say, career journey or
Yeah.
is just to showcase how I thought my future was
Yeah.
going to be.
And you had to accept and deal
I
with
had
that
to accept
change.
and also learn a few lessons.
Yeah.
That things can't be rushed, that everything comes at its own time
Yeah.
and its
Yeah.
own way and its own shape or form. Like if you told me at the age of 16 when I was thinking about what I was going to do, and if you told me I had to wait 7 years before I get my first idea,
Yeah.
and then told me what that idea was, I wouldn't have not necessarily believed you, but I would have thought that, that you were pulling my leg. I wouldn't have believed that. If you told me at the age of 23
Yeah.
that for that person at the age of 23 that came up with his first idea and said, yes, this is my ticket out of corporate world.
Yeah.
If you told that person that
That's-
now I would have left and come back to corporate world, I wouldn't have believed you either.
Yeah.
So again, life is just a complete journey
Yeah.
that you have no idea. And yet you have to adapt and have to accept where you are. And that's
Exactly.
where I am at right now, is just accepting that you can only plan so much.
Yeah. See, that's the thing with me long term.
Yeah.
I'm actually the opposite. So growing up, I was always the type I was accepting. I was very accepting of whatever happens, whoever I meet, whatever job I get. Like I was very accepting of wherever my future was going to go. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
The main thing was I did see myself getting married and settling down. That was one thing. And then also having a career on the side and just, whatever that career would be, even like up to finishing high school, I wasn't sure of being a graphic designer.
Yeah.
I actually thought I'm going to be in a completely different field, which was medicine.
Okay. Oh, okay. I
And-
never knew that.
Yeah, yeah. I actually always saw myself as being. First of all, I loved biology in high school.
Yeah.
It was my favorite subject.
Yeah.
So it's actually funny that I've completely gone off that path. But coming from Canada to the Middle East, for me there was a lot of differences in the schooling and the way school is. So I didn't really. It was a bit hard for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I went a bit away from
The sciences.
The sciences. Anyways, so I've always been that accepting kind of person up until I actually became a mom.
Yeah.
Then my life completely changed. The way I think, I think completely changed. And I don't know what it is. I still haven't discovered what's changed about me. But
Yeah.
I went from being completely accepting and now I'm like, no, I have to plan. I have to have a schedule. I have to have like a structure. I have to see, there has to be a path for me, and I have to know where I'm going and what's happening to my family. And now with everything going on, I'm like, how do I accept change
Yeah.
when I just started this new reality of mine,
Yeah.
of being a mom and of
And I think the truth is you've really been struggling with this, and and obviously I've seen it, and it's something we talk about often and something that we're working on. But yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. You went from this easy, happy-go-lucky person to
Yeah.
someone who's quite anxious and worrying about the future.
And I still don't know what it is. And like Hassan said, I still haven't discovered and I'm still working on that. But dealing with the change of it, I don't know. It's
still a work in progress.
It's very much a work in progress.
And I think what you mentioned, Saleh, earlier about like after university, how you felt, I think that's very common and very like, I for sure dealt with that. I studied 4 years of interior design, and then I graduated, and I was just so exhausted from the work that went into getting my degree. Because for those who don't know, if you study something in the arts, or something like architecture or interior design or even graphic design, your university is very project based. It's not like you read up, study for an exam, and then just take it. You have to actually work and do you physically do something and create something, and that takes a lot of time. Not to take away from reading and taking an exam, but it's just different. So you end up spending a lot of late nights, working endless hours, and it really, really drains you. And so I graduated, and I just felt like very lost. I was like, is this really the career that I want to pursue? And actually, even before that, the fact that I even decided on that degree was a struggle. Like, first I was going to go into finance, and then realized, wait, I hate math. I hate numbers. What am I doing? And then I wanted to go into architecture, but there were no spots. So then I ended up compromising and taking interior design. And it was just like a lot of change. And then if I finally got my degree, and I was just so exhausted, and I didn't know, is this what I want to do? So I spent a long time playing video games, sitting on my computer, not doing anything, months on end. And my parents were getting really frustrated with me and didn't know how to reach me, and like how to tell me, come on, you've had your rest, like it's time to look for a job. And I just thankfully I had the luxury of like not having to look for a job immediately. I wasn't supporting anyone, and my parents were supporting me. But it just like, I got into this headspace where I just did not know what was next. And then it just came, like, it just like something sparked in me, like you said. And I was like, okay, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And at the time you had started an initiative, and I joined in on that. And I got to work and understand. And even though neither of us were getting paid to do it, we just were so passionate about it that it was fun. And that inspired me to do my master's in business. And then from there, once I graduated, I got a job. And now I'm in a communications career. And so I never thought I would end up where I am today. But everything that I did led up to it. And yes, okay, maybe you could see it as, I wasted 4 years studying interior design, but I still learned a lot, and there's still a lot that I learned that I can apply to different parts of my life today.
And something that you told me, or you keep telling me actually, is which I think you guys listening would probably be able to use, is that I might not, if you ask me right now if I am happy with where I am today, I would perhaps tell you not quite, because this is not perhaps the future that I foresaw for my foresaw, is that the right word? Yeah.
For yourself.
We should create a bloopers of every word that I get that I saw for myself. And then Hassan, you keep on telling me that, well, look at it backwards. So look at the time that I was, if I go back and I think, of what I was doing when I was younger, I I accepted the fact that yes, I was supposed to be there at that time to lead me to where I am today.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like, okay, this is not where you're supposed to be today, trust me, whatever comes tomorrow and the day after, it'll make sense to you why you had to go through these specific phases. And for me, I never knew that I would want to be in a world where I'm balancing between corporate and my entrepreneurship if I didn't go through the steps that I went through before.
Yeah.
So I we all have those like inner battles of, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Does that mean I failed, or does that mean?
Yeah.
But then having a good support system, Hassan reminded me that okay, you might not be happy with where you are today, but you are meant to be here.
Yeah.
And wait for what comes next to see why you are supposed to be.
Yeah,
through
because
that.
a lot of the times we'll be in a situation and we'll be so frustrated, or we'll be dealing with an issue and we're like, why am I in this position? Or we'll say, why has God done this to me?
Yeah.
And I really am a strong believer in everything happens for a reason. We may not know that reason now, or even for the next few months or year or however long, but eventually down the road we will see why that thing happened to us and how it shaped us as people.
Yeah.
Especially for people that I feel like, if you have pure intentions and like you're just a good human being, I agree with you, Hassan. I honestly believe that good things will come. It's just that for all of us, we just go through different tests at different times.
Yeah.
And it has a lot to do with acceptance and accepting change, and accepting that this is how things are, and the more that you accept it and kind of surrender to it. I'm not saying be complacent and don't do anything to change a situation if it's bad, but the more that you are accepting of it, then I think the more you'll find that inner peace, and it's much easier said than done.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that you would feel the difference if you implement that. Which brings me to the next segment of this, where I want to talk about change within ourselves and how people can change. So a lot of people, will throw around the phrase like, "Oh, people don't change," or like,
I hate that phrase, by the way.
yeah, or when someone will say to me, "Oh, you know what? This is who I am. I can't change. People just have to accept me."
Yeah.
And of course, there's aspects to us that it won't change and shouldn't change, but
yeah, there is. I feel like when someone comes and says, "Oh, I can't change this about me," or "This is who I am. I don't like to do this certain hobby," or I'm this type of personality." No, I don't believe that. I believe that we can all evolve, we can all change and grow, and that is life. If you're just staying in one box, how are you expected
you're not
going to
move forward.
I think that's just a stubborn way of thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is, because then you're just resigning yourself to the fact that you're someone who's never going to evolve, never going to develop, and never going to grow. Because if there is a bad habit that you can do, you can break it. If there's something that you say you don't like and you've never tried it, how do you know until you've tried?
Yeah.
I can say till I'm blue in the face I don't like whatever dish, let's say sushi.
Yeah.
But if I've never tried sushi, how do I know?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I love sushi.
We all love sushi. But I agree. I think with what Shehlaa said, we as human beings are ever evolving, and we're always constantly changing. That's the thing. It's funny how, for me as a person, I fear change when it comes to daily life or daily schedule, but yet I'm completely open to change myself in terms of myself within. I am hesitant when people start to take me out of our comfort zones, but that's completely normal for other people. Like if someone goes and tells me, "Do you want to go bungee jumping?" I'm that's a bit on the extreme side of change. That
Let me build up to that first.
Yeah, let me try something different. Someone tells me, so I do not like flying. So some people are asking me, "Oh, will you ever skydive?" I'm like, I don't want to get on a plane to go in the air. You want me to go in a plane in the air and then jump out? So like you were saying, Shehlaa, like, okay, let's take it one step at a time. But I do believe that you are fooling yourself if you think that you're not going to be a different person tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you're selling yourself short, honestly, because if, okay, let's say, let's take your example. You don't want to do bungee jumping or skydiving, but maybe what the person is trying to tell you, like, oh, why don't you try something a little more adventurous or a little outdoorsy or something? You know, you can take that step a step down and maybe go for a hike or go kayaking or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a new experience that you haven't tried before that you might end up enjoying.
And trust me, trying new experiences teaches you more about yourself. Like, for example, I am not a very adventurous type person, obviously,
Right.
if I'm
Yeah.
not bungee jumping. But for example, like my best friend, Yusuf, loves to go hiking. He's such an adrenaline junkie. He'd go hiking, he'd go river, kayaking, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And rock climbing. He'd do anything that is crazy. And then
Yeah.
I feel like I keep on telling him that risks his life. He's on top of that. So whenever he invited me, obviously it wasn't the first thing that I would want to do,
Yeah.
but I was open to it. I was like, let's go. I went on 1, 2, 3, 4 hikes with him, and even we, camped and stuff like that. But I went on enough to know that it's not me.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
but at least you tried
I
it,
tried.
right?
No,
And you can say to your friends or whoever that, oh, I tried this.
that's why he
Exactly.
doesn't bother me anymore, because he's like, okay, he did give an attempt one,
Yeah,
2 or 3
yeah.
times.
No, a story that actually comes to mind is okay, so when I was a kid, me and a bunch of our family members had an experience where there was quicksand in a beach. Okay.
Okay.
And so
I
I was.
have never seen. I actually used to think quicksand was a myth because I've never seen it instead of
Real-
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, so
No,
sidetracked.
it's okay. But yeah, there basically was an incident where we were swimming in the beach, and then it started taking and like pulling our bodies basically.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, nobody was injured, nobody was affected. We were all okay, but it did basically give me a fear of swimming.
Yeah.
Especially in the
Ocean?
In the ocean.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm in a pool, I can swim. I am more scared, but I can swim.
Because like it's a controlled environment in a pool.
Yeah, exactly. I would still be scared to swim in the pool, but I can. I can tell that I can swim basically. Anyways, fast forward to I think 3 years into our marriage, and my sister-in-law was gonna go snorkeling.
Yeah.
And when she went, she was like, "Oh, come," and I was like, "No, it's okay. I usually am able to get out of these things."
Yeah.
Anyways, she was like, "No, it's okay. Come, we'll just hang out." And I told her I don't really want to get into the water. And she's like, "It's okay. You can stay on the boat." So basically, she had a boat. Basically, was gonna take us,
Yeah.
to
the ocean.
these areas that you can go and you can just snorkel and see. Anyways, I was like, okay, sure, why not? I was very hesitant, but I was like, I'm not gonna go in the water. I was very naive, I think. Anyways, we were in the boat, and then she's like, and then the instructor is like, okay, it's time. They stop the boat, and then Layla, my sister-in-law, jumps in, and I'm like, oh yay, wow, you look so nice.
You're like waving
from afar. And then the instructor's like, okay, you jump in. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, you want to jump? And I'm like, no, I don't want to jump. And I was so scared. Layla kept saying, no, come on in, Yalla, it's very nice. So anyways, they gave me a life jacket, and I was like, yeah, I'll just have the life jacket. And then
you'll just like float in the
exactly.
water.
So I went with Layla and the instructor, and long story short, towards the end, I started actually being able to relax and actually
Enjoy yourself.
enjoy myself. Looking back at it, I was literally in the middle of ocean. There is nothing, no islands around us, nothing. And now I'm like, oh my God, I actually did that.
Yeah.
Now I'm actually able to go into the beach. I'm not going to go in very deep.
Yeah.
I'll
but
be
it's
honest.
helped conquer a little bit of that
Yeah,
fear.
like I can swim now.
Yeah.
So that's something that
Yeah,
going
wait.
into change,
Yeah,
I
and
was able
stepping
to.
out of your comfort zone. And I think if we also take it a step deeper, when we talk about change in terms of personality traits, like, you know, when it comes to like relationships and or even friendships, if people say to you, "Oh, you know, this is who I am. You have to just accept me as I am," I feel like that's very narrow-minded, and that shuts a lot of doors.
Yeah.
And it makes people have to either walk on eggshells or like shift and morph themselves to fit within your comfort zone, which I think can be very unfair.
Yeah, no, if it's a friendship or a relationship, it's all about compromise. There is
Yeah.
no such
Yeah.
thing as this is who I am, take it or leave it.
And no,
I
you
hate
have
that
to
saying.
grow. Yeah, like I feel like especially in those kind of relationships and friendships, you have to mold each other
Yeah.
into growing.
Yeah.
You can't just stay and no, this is who I am. This is who they know who I am, and that's it.
And this is why we have, you know, new circles come around every
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
and every time and season, I would say, just
Yeah.
because you are different than the person you were yesterday. You can, you know, you do have people that can tell you, oh, you're the same person I've met years ago.
Yeah.
But that, I don't mean you changed drastically, although some people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do change a little by little every now and then.
Yeah.
And you turn into a new person because besides evolving, you are learning constantly about yourself. About
Honestly, if
people.
someone said to me like you're the same person you were years ago, that would be an insult.
Right?
It means I've
Like-
not grown, I haven't evolved, I haven't
أنا
changed.
بعد صراحة, like if someone were to come to me and tell me that, I'd be like, no, because the person I was 10 years, I mean, not dissing any past Salehs, but definitely was a bit
But-
more less knowledgeable about the real world.
But I don't think that's a reflection on you. I think when they say you haven't changed, it's a reflection on them. Going even deeper into this, that's something that a lot of people actually said to me. Because basically, when I went to Canada the last time I went, it was the first time I go in 10 years.
Yeah.
I left as a teenager and then I come back as an adult who's been married and so I had some people tell me, "Oh my God, you're the same person you were," or you're just like as in the same. I think they meant like, oh, the kind, innocent, quiet
The
girl.
positive traits.
Yes, but at the same time, in my head, I was like, no, I'm actually not the same girl, and that shows a lack of knowledge I felt from their end,
But
not
also-
from mine.
Yeah, but also it could be the fact that you reverted back to that same person
That I
because
was.
you were in
This-
your past environment.
It
True.
could be. Yeah, like for me, if I'm hanging around, I see this about myself. If I'm ever hanging around someone from high school and, I all of a sudden revert back to who I was in high school in a way, not
Yeah.
entirely, but I do get it. So I do think that the surroundings change
Change
you as
you?
well.
True.
And even like, we discussed this, Shehlaa, in a previous episode where you are obviously less social. When you are surrounded by people that you don't know,
Yeah.
and you are more social when you come around people that you do know.
You do
So
know.
I do believe that the surroundings have even
And that
that can
impact.
change.
Yeah,
and
that's
impact
true.
someone.
I actually noticed something about myself. I pronounce words and I have accents depending on who I'm hanging out with. If I'm hanging around like Americans, I'll find myself like saying words the way Americans do. Or if I'm around English people, I won't necessarily pronounce things a British way, but the tone of my voice will
change.
And I really dislike this about myself because I feel like, why am I conforming to how they to make them more
No.
comfortable? I should just speak the way I speak.
With me, I do that, but then I do that only there's two sides. I feel like if I'm talking to a Canadian, I'm going to go full on Canadian on you. And then if I'm talking to anyone else, especially like in the Middle East, I feel like I pronounce and enunciate the letters much more than I do when I'm talking. Like, for example, just easily the word Toronto.
Yeah.
As Canadians, we say Toronto.
Yeah.
Whereas when I say it to someone else, I say Toronto.
Yeah.
So those something like
Things.
that, I do that as well. But it's just if
And
I'm
I've noticed
talking-
actually listening back to this podcast, I've pronounced Arabic words in a very Western way. Like I've
Yeah.
said Ramadan, I've said
Oh my
Oh,
God.
me too.
Quran.
By
Yes.
the way, actually, I have a very close friend, and I was just telling you before we started recording this about his feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of his feedbacks were, which I didn't tell you, was, guys, you're Arabs. Why do you pronounce the words? And I'm like, no, because we're talking to a global audience. They're like, yeah, but still,
That's
you
so
should.
true.
But it's true. I think when we're
It's not intentional. Like
It's not.
subconsciously, I feel like, okay, if I say it like in a very Arab way, Western people will not understand.
yeah.
But it's not true.
but
They
it's-
will.
It isn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
very true.
So that's okay. That's a promise to myself to try and stop that.
I second that
And,
also.
and even actually, just quickly before we move on, there is this comedian called Hassan Minhaj. He's an Indian American comedian, and he's Muslim. And he actually went on Ellen, and she said, "Oh, hello, you're Hassan Minhaj." And he was like, actually, no, that's not how you say my name. And he pronounced it properly for her.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to stop doing that. And, letting,
People.
introducing myself and pronouncing my name in the way that other people would pronounce it. But actually, he's
In
going
a
to
way that they,
Yeah.
he's going to
That's
pronounce
nice.
it how it should be.
Yeah.
So I want to commit to doing the same.
But again, I think looking at the topic entirely for today, there is obviously the theme of change and how we are going to always have to face it in all aspects
And
of
we
our
always
life.
go through it.
When it comes to our own plans, when it
Yeah.
comes to our own futures, when it comes to ourselves. I don't know. I mean, we don't know who we're going to be whilst recording our podcasts in the future.
Yeah.
We might have completely different opinions. We might be going through. You guys have to know that every week that we do record this, we do go through daily struggles like everyone else, and we do go
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
changes and things that happen in our lives.
And we do talk like off, well, not camera, but off the mic.
Yeah,
And
we do update each other on a daily.
Yeah.
So what we are discussing today might not be what we were discussing on the first episode, and going forward might not be what we continue to discuss. But I think the main point that we're trying to make is to, as difficult as it is, and I'm talking to myself here as well, to be accepting of change in its entirety and in all its forms, whether it's those in my life, whether it's those in my and for me planning on my future, because I'm a person that used to be a trigger for me, and a trigger, when I say that, it triggers my anxiety and sometimes can swirl
Yeah.
into depression, which I have to deal with and have been dealing with for a very long time. And alhamdulillah, have gotten so much better at dealing with it, but also in the sense that it's not always in my control, and that's okay. So that's what I would like me personally for you guys to take away is, it's okay if it's not in your control. What will happen will happen. What will be, and you're gonna be okay. Because if we're a testament to anything, it's that.
Yeah, and not to fear change.
Yeah.
It's it can be scary.
Of course.
I'm not saying it's not, and it might be very easy for us to speak now and say, accept change, and it will like take it in stride. But obviously, when the time comes, it will be difficult. But just know and try to remind yourself that everything happens for a reason, and just like you got through all other difficulties in your life, you're gonna get through this as well.
I do want to say that listening to you guys say that, because that is something I'm dealing with right now. I'm sure just like a lot of
People.
listeners are doing or are dealing with it. So listening to you guys say this, I'm just like, that's so true. You're right. And I'm like trying to take that in and actually really implement that into my life. Because we are dealing with a lot, and we are dealing with, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am more quiet
Yeah.
when it comes to that topic of the change in the future, but it's just because I'm dealing with it right now as
Yeah.
well. So who knows, maybe, like I said, in a few weeks we can bring this up again, and I
It'll
would
be-
have dealt with it and moving forward how I worked through it.
Yeah.
But that's
But that being said, there's no timeline on how quickly you need to.
No, there
you need
isn't,
to
yeah.
adapt to
that
to change,
I've
yeah.
accepted, and I've accepted that I don't know how long it's going to take, but as long as I'm moving forward, for me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
Again, we always want to make this a two-way dialogue. There's a few ways you can reach us. either email us on our email, which is letsallscream.podcast@gmail.com, or reach us on Instagram and Facebook at Let's All Scream.
We always want to hear what you guys have to say. We do try to keep our stories interactive in the sense that we ask you guys what you'd like to hear or for us to talk about. So do either email us or let us know on our social pages, or even message us personally. We very much would like to hear from you and discuss even more things that you guys would feel relevant.
Yeah, and for me, I don't know if you guys know this, but I am back on social media. I'm trying to retract from that, so I'm not always on. But if you do, again, like Saleh said, you can even message us personally or on the podcast account, and feel free to just even
Reach
pop in
out.
and say hi.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. See
Take
you next
care.
week.
Thank you
Bye.
guys. Stay safe.
Bye.